You're here to hear the story behind the story. I finally got my copy of Quilt Folk magazine. And with every story, there is a backstory. We are multidimensional people, right? Think about this. If you are a woman, you're not only a woman, you could be a sister, you can be a mother, you can be a nurse, a professional, you can be a, quilter, you could be a musician. There are so many facets to us. And so I thought I would share my reaction to Quilt Folk and share some of the story behind the story. Are you interested in that? Hello, Benita. So glad that you're here. Welcome. Is that something that you think about when you interact with friends and even family, that they are multi-dimensional people? Hello, Lori. How are you? So glad that you're here. And Wilda. Hello, Wilda. Awesome. It's always good to be here with you, ladies. I have, let's see. I couldn't think about, well, I shouldn't say that. I had a hard time choosing what story behind the story to share because there's so much. And if there's something that you're curious about because you got the magazine and you wanted to hear more about it, don't hesitate. Drop a comment, ask a question, let me know. Hello, Jacqueline. So glad that you're here. And Terry is here. Hello. So before I start that, in my regular devotions and my reading, I started reading in part because I'm in a Christian women's business group, Bible study group. And we meet every couple of weeks. And we've been studying different women in the Bible. And we were studying Hannah. How many of you know the story of Hannah? As I was reading through Hannah chapters 1 and 2 of First Samuel, as Rochelle says, we want to hear the tea. Yes, we do. This relates because remember I said we're multidimensional. We have many facets to who we are as individuals. And sometimes people misunderstand who we are. We can look at others on face value from a one-sided story, if you will, or have ideas about who they are. And I think that Hannah is a good example of that. So, oh, hello, Ben. That's Wilda's husband. Hello, Ben. So good to see you. Hi. So, what I noticed with Hannah, if you're not familiar with the story, Hannah is married to a man who also has a second wife. They go every year to go worship. They travel to go worship to and bring the family with them. But Hannah is barren. His other wife has children. So there are several different people. One, her husband's second wife, and a priest who all get her wrong. They decide who Hannah is. They're telling their version of her story. They say one, Hannah's, the Bible says her rival, and her name is Peninnah, that she provoked Hannah, teased her about being barren, not having children. And during that time, not having children was not a good thing. You felt shame for that. And so she teased her relentlessly, so Hannah would cry. Then her husband would say, "Oh, why are you crying? Why don't you eat? Am I not enough?" So he thought that he could replace the children that she wanted. He should be enough. And then when she's praying and crying out to God to give her children, the priest looks at her and says, "Woman, why are you drunk? Have you been drinking? Stay away from the wine." So all three of these people had a different idea about what Hannah needed, who she was. And I thought, that is no different for any of us. That sometimes we learn a story or information about someone, right, from one person or two people, and they can be two completely different stories. How do you and I control or navigate the stories that people share about us compared to the story of the one that we know about ourselves? How do we do that? Have you ever been misunderstood? So Hannah was misunderstood by her husband, by the second wife, by the priest, but she wasn't misunderstood by God. God knew Hannah. He remembered her. He gave her children. And what I love about this story, I don't think it's a stretch. Once you get back into like chapter 2, when she finally has her first child, God gives her a son. His name is Samuel. He becomes a prophet of God. She decides that I'm going to give my son right back to you. You give me a child, he will be dedicated to you. He will serve you his whole life. Now, when you make that kind of prayer, how do you know that the son is going to agree to do that? How do you know that the priest who thought you were drunk is going to take your child to serve God? How do you know that's going to happen? How do you know that your husband is going to be okay with you taking his son and giving him to someone else? How do you know that? You don't. But what you do know is that God always has a plan. And so God has a plan for you, he has a plan for me. And sometimes we don't see that plan. I should say sometimes we don't see it at all. We don't see that plan until it has happened for the most part. And that's kind of part of my story, is that this article and others are similar in that I pursued different things in my life. One, because I had the heart to do it, and I believe God put it in my heart to do it. But my family didn't want me to do it. My mom didn't want me to be a photographer. It's the truth. She wanted me to be in a safe career. Who knows what a safe career is? Let me know in the chat. Are there people in your life who misunderstood you and your calling, misunderstood the things that you had interest in, and thought, well, why are you doing that? You should be doing this. Or you're not satisfied. You should want this instead. We can misunderstand people, and sometimes because of that misunderstanding, misdirect them. So in that story with Hannah, it got me to thinking about how by chapter 2, even though those who misunderstood her in chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, they were all lined up. Her husband's like, yes, wean the child, give him to the priest. The priest was like, yes, I'll receive him. Samuel became a assistant, if you will, to the priest. He was trained under him. Jacqueline says, my grandmother wanted me to be a nurse. No way. Not me. Yes. Hello, Thimble and Hook. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. So that happens. And we never know what God's going to do with the things that he calls us to do. We don't have the full picture. Sometimes he is so graceful and merciful that he reveals to us slowly what is happening as he's directing our steps. So that story with Hannah kind of touched me and reminded me that sometimes we, through God's grace, are able to move forward in the call that we have, and that he will turn the hearts of others in that call. They may not agree in the beginning, but they eventually will, like her husband, like the priest, like her son. How did all three of those men follow her initial prayer? God, if you give me a son, I will dedicate him to you. She didn't ask permission of her son. She didn't ask permission of the priest. She didn't ask permission of the child. They all went willingly because God had directed them to do so. So that's kind of what's happened in my life. I've had a heart and desire to become a photographer. Not everyone saw the vision. I didn't completely see the vision of what that was going to be and how God would use that. I decided that I wanted to serve and share the gospel through photography around the world. And that's how I began to meet a lot of women and see that sewing was something that connected women. And I thought, well, maybe that's something for me. So I started praying about that. And from photography now to quilting. That's part of the story. Let's look at my copy of Quilt Folk. Many of you got your copy before me. And if you're unfamiliar with Quilt Folk, there's no advertisements. It's all story. And it's a publication. It's not even really a magazine because it's more like a book. It's very thick, heavyweight paper, not the thin paper of magazines, and beautiful photos. They feature quilters and quilt organizations by state. So this is the state of Virginia. Maybe you have one for your state. If you don't, I recommend you get one. They have back issues if you're not a Virginian. So it was not only an amazing privilege to be asked, but to actually appear it's just, I still can't believe it. You have to pinch me. Now I have to be honest, when I first got it, I couldn't open it. I was so nervous. Why? Because of the story. What is the story that's told? How is the story told in photos? How is my story told in words? Okay, so Thimble and Hook said, misunderstood, and it continues. The nurses in my family wanted their careers. My mother had low expectations and wanted school. And I went to school for fashion design. Wow, fantastic. Similar story. My mom did not want me to go to photography school, but I went to photography school. I quit accounting. I was doing accounting. Ugh, yuck, yuck, yuck. I'm a creative person. Not that numbers can't be creative. So let's look at my page. What is it? So you're getting this. There we go. All right. Here it is. First, I have to say that even though my family wasn't initially excited about the idea of photography, they didn't actually understand, I think, that you could make a career and a living at photography and or quilting. And it was important for me that eventually, as they understood more about photography and quilting, I didn't let that hinder me, their lack of understanding on that, from my goals. It also did not stop me from including them in things like this magazine. And so I really wanted the magazine, and I think it does. Quilt Folk focuses on my faith and my family. And when the photographer came, it was important for me, things that I made that were focused on my family and my faith were included and they did so. And so I'm very pleased. And this is by far one of the biggest joys for me in this article is this photo. Not only do I love my smile, can I say that? I do. I love my smile. She did a good job with that. But this here, the verse on this says, He makes all things beautiful in time. Think about the story of Hannah, how she suffered and cried for years because she couldn't have children. Now, eventually, when you read further on, she not only had one child, she had several more, boys and girls. So the Lord blessed her and gave her more children in time, in His perfect time. This is a bag that I designed and made, and I call it Aunt Baby's bag. So I wanted, my heart's desire was for my mom to be somewhere woven in this story, in this journey. And this bag, which is a pattern, if you want to make it, you can. I think some of my quilty friends have made it already. I know Wilda has one. It's a project bag. It's 15 inches square. You can fit all kinds of things on either side. It opens up flat into a beautiful project bag, but it's called Aunt Baby. My mother's nickname from her nieces and nephew was Aunt Baby because her sisters, her siblings, and her brother called her Baby. That was her nickname. So this is called Aunt Baby's bag, and it's a tribute to my mom who loved bags. She had one armoire filled with bags. She had bags for every occasion. And I was pleased that in the caption, they included her full name, Amanda May Pouncey. She passed away a few years ago. She in 2019. And so this opening page means a lot to me. Yeah, so that's the story behind this photo. Let's see. And then this starts with the photos from my studio. Very small space, but somewhat organized. I think it looks like any other quilter space. I did take time to freshen it up just for the photos, and nothing like a photo shoot to get you organized, right, ladies? And then the Beautiful Sister Quilt, the start of that and what that means to me. Quilting and sewing. I think a lot of you do this. Let me know. Yeah, it is. Thank you. Let me go back. Thank you, Jacqueline. I love having that Aunt Baby's bag dedicated. There she is, right there. If anyone wants to see it, if you're new to it, I've shared it before, but I'd be happy to share it again, what it looks like up close. The Beautiful Sister Quilt, goes back to family. But before I get to that, it wasn't the first family project, nor was this the first family project. I have several, but I know you ladies do the same thing. You make things from t-shirts, you make things from family t-shirts, from the clothings of your babies, your children, you make quilts for your veterans in your family. We do all kinds of things with fabric. And we incorporate our family. It becomes very personal. And so as I became a designer, and the story in Quilt Folk talks about that, how I had an opportunity to do a lot of design work. And I always thought about stories related to my family that inspired quilts. So here's another example I'll share with you. This is from Quick and Easy Quilts, January 2022. Quick and Easy Quilts came out, the first one came out, I think maybe a year before this, but it specifically was supposed to be easy quilts, right? Because it's quick and easy, but also the designers were encouraged to make a quilt and have a story to go along with it. Oh, you're welcome, Thimblehooks. You are so welcome. My pleasure. This is who I am. This is part of that story. Remember, multiple parts of us. So, sweet candy is memories of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. When I was a little girl and we would go visit our grandparents, she always had a table in the living room with a bowl of candy, hard candy. So I designed this quilt based after that experience, that every time I would go, but specifically, I would look for the butterscotch. And it says here, my maternal grandmother was known for always having a candy dish filled with hard candy on the living room coffee table. The candy was a mixture of flavors, and some had soft, fruit-filled, flavored centers. I always reached for my favorite, the butterscotch, during our weekly visits. But each Christmas, the grandkids receive stockings filled with hard candy. Do you remember those stockings, the one with the red netting? Are you old enough to remember those stockings that were always filled with candy? I love designing around stories and stories connected to my family. So this is what the quilt looks like. It's not too big, but it's big enough for, I think, a child, and it's really a fun pattern. It's quick and it's easy. So if you're interested in that, making it and learning more about it, just go to Quick and Easy Quilts, January 2022. So it all connects. When we connect what we enjoy doing, we ultimately connect it, right, to our families. And as I went through Quilt Folk, I saw my family all throughout, and that I am so happy for. Let's go back to this. So this is my sister. Everyone knows we've talked about her, Roberta. And I knew that Quilt Folk always photographed quilters next to their machine. And I was in the middle of just finishing this project. This is the Pathways project. So I laid that out. And then I thought the night before, I need to have something on my long arm. What am I going to do? So I quickly put together a sandwich of one of my whole cloths. I didn't even start it the night before. I started quilting it the morning the photographers came. They were coming around 2 p.m. and I said, well, I'm going to start quilting it. And I'm going to use one of my techniques, which some of you have been in my class with, improv ruler quilting. And so when they came, they had something to photograph me with. And of course, I wanted to connect it with my Beautiful Sister series of whole cloth quilts. That's a new series. So that's the story behind this. If you've been following me on social media, you know that I've been sharing the process of completing her. She's now finished, but she was started the morning the photographers came to take pictures. Yes, that's right. She was started then. But this big whole cloth was inspired by the original Beautiful Sister Quilt, which is this one right here. Now, we went in town into Old Town Fredericksburg, and it's an historic town. It has a lot of history. And we happened upon a building that has two plaques on it. And if you have the magazine, take time to read it because it's kind of interesting. We did not do this on purpose. It was just happenstance. And it has to do with, it's a law firm now that owns the building. But some people that use this building, it's an interesting story. So I'm going to encourage you to go try and read that and then get back to me about that. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. But she did a good job on that. And then she did some detailed photos. And each of these panels in her afro, I stitch words: love, faith, hope. That was important to me. So again, connecting my faith. And this one has, oh my goodness, a long history. I made this many years ago. Again, this is a whole cloth with one applique doily. When I was a student of free motion, how many of you are students of free motion? I'd love to know, are you still learning free motion? Do you want to get better at free motion? One of the things that I did, and this is an example, is that I would participate in challenges. I would say, okay, maybe I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to practice. I'm going to get some fabric. And this fabric was on the free table at a guild meeting. Someone didn't want it anymore, and I picked it up because I'm always practicing. And the leaves are not appliqued. It's actually part of the fabric. Only the doily is. And the doily was given to me by another quilter. And this quilter, she's a well-known quilter, and I can't think of her name right now for some reason, memory block. Oh, great. So happy Sarah is interested in free motion. Yes, about the machine you use. Back then, I was using a Janome 7700. I finally invested in a really good free motion quilting machine. I had used previous Janomes, but I wore it out. And then I learned about this new one, and it changed my quilting experience. And this was quilted on that. It was made for free motion, a machine made for that. And it has a lot of intricate stitching, all free motion. And it was a challenge. The quilter that gave like 6 of us a doily said, take the doily, quilt it, and it will be in an exhibit. So I did. I quilted it. All of us did. And it was the way she picked it, she put like a number in the hat or a name in the hat. I forget what it was. And my name came out as someone to receive the doily. That was 1. 2, I quilted it. And of course, it's based on my faith. I am the vine. And here's the vine. Jesus is the vine, and we are the branches. You know, when we abide in him, that's when we produce fruit, when we stay connected to the vine. So this was another faith-based project, but it was also an opportunity to practice my free motion. So I finished it, and then it went on a tour. It toured the United States with the other 6 doilies that the ladies finished. And I think it was on about a whole year that this was on tour, it being exhibited. And it's someone who loves vintage linens. And I don't know why I can't think of her name. Awesome. She has all the tools and ready to go. Fantastic. So that's the story behind this. And now this is in my sewing studio, my Studio B, and it hangs right above my computer table inside that same room. But this is my favorite piece. And ladies, you know what this means. This means Quilt Conversations Live. So that's what that's all about. I don't think I need to explain that, right? Often I will hang quilts that I've designed for magazines when I go live, and I make video tutorials. Any questions about any of those photos? How many of you have actually read the article and have a question? Let me know. I'd be happy to share that or answer it if I could. But now we're getting to some of the detailed photos, and this is another fabulous image, and it's personal to me. And we all have this. We all have something that was given to us by someone that has memory attached to it. No one else will know. I mean, and in the end, it could end up in a thrift store. You know, when my time on this earth is gone and my family is packing up my things. It might end up in a thrift store. Who knows? But these were specific gifts from people. Someone who knew I loved elephants. This camera, it's called a twin reflex camera. This is one of the cameras that I first learned on as a young photographer. And it was given to me by a well-known Harlem photographer, Austin Hanson. No, Terry, it wasn't Sue Nichols. I'm trying to think of her name. The name that keeps coming to me is Lori Kennedy, but it's not her. Oh, it's Kelly Klein. Kelly Klein. Kelly Klein has a Facebook page. She's an amazing free motion quilter, and I learned a lot from her when I was learning free motion. And she does a lot of things with linens and older quilts, vintage quilts. So yeah, that's where I got it. Kelly Klein with a C, I think it is. Yep. So Austin Hanson what taught me a lot in photography, taught me portraiture. He taught me darkroom techniques with black and white. His image collection is vast. He did a history of photos of Harlem. Every politician, celebrity you can think of, he did a photo of, whether it was during a parade or a lecture or a concert. And that collection is at the Schomburg Library of Social Research in Harlem. This is a camera that one was his that he gave me, and it's the same camera that I took a portrait of him. So that camera is very important to me. Yeah. And next to it are 3 little elephants that were hand carved that a friend gave me when we took a trip to a state fair in California. But they're hand carved by a Mexican artist. This very specific nut that almost looks like ivory when it's dried out. It gets carved, and he used it and made these elephants. So that's some of the stories about these things that are important to me. So when I look at it, that's what I see. I see my mentor in photography. I see thoughtful family and friends. And some of you have taken my rainbow feathered class. And that's from that class, my time learning how to do feathers. And now I share the things that I've learned. Now this one is really, I'm going to zoom in for this one. If you don't have the magazine, I hope that you get it. Let me zoom in a little bit more. I was so pleased. I love elephants, if you haven't guessed that already. And this was part of the Hoffman Challenge. I did enter this into the Hoffman Challenge. I used their fabric with orange fabric. Stitched the elephant, all free motion. Remember, I used challenges to help me improve my free motion. But in this family, this is my niece, Amanda. She's now a mother of 2 and is a school teacher. She teaches at a private school in New York. And then there's my brother and his son. But this photo of Amanda is so precious to me. It's when she was about 5 years old. Her parents went off on vacation. I was babysitting her and her brother, and she was looking out the window, looking for her parents. And that's when I took this photo of her. And it just says so much. She missed her parents. She wanted to see them, but I took the time to just make, it's a rather big photo. I don't know if you can tell from this photo. And then my brother, let me go back. My brother with his son, AJ, they have the same name, but they called his son AJ for Arrington J. He's a junior. I went to go meet him, to go spend time with my brother. He's in Houston. And he said, let's go to AJ school. So we went to AJ school so that I can meet AJ. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I had a very short visit. So we went to his school, and right there at the school, I took that photo. I love that photo. Yeah. So family, family, family. Yeah. And then, of course, this is the first in the series from the Beautiful Sister whole cloth quilts. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So this is the story behind the story, right? Yep. That's the story behind the story. How many of you have Quilt Folk, the 35th issue? Do you have it? Do you plan to get it? Do you want to learn more about the other quilters and their stories and see how some of it relates to you? I think it's important for each of us to share our stories, to share parts of who we are with our family, with our faith, with our community. Yay, Jacqueline ordered hers. Wonderful. A lot of ways we will use our gifts and talents that God has given us to impact others. If you want to get the Quilt Folk issue, because it's, of course, not just me, there's a lot of stories in here, and you can use this coupon code to get 20% off. I don't get any commission or anything like that. You get 20% off, and it's only good until the end of September, I think, only the end of September. So don't wait. You can either get one issue or you can get a full subscription still with 20% off. All right, Wilda. So Wilda got it. Fantastic. They mean more to me now that you've shared the stories. Oh, thank you, Wilda. It does help to know more about the stories behind things. And it matters. Sometimes we hold those things inside and we don't share them with others. And then when someone does or says something unintentional because they don't know the full story, we can be hurt by it. So sometimes I think it's good to share. So Terry says she's been a subscriber for a long time. Yay! Terry says she's glad she learned the backstory. Fantastic. Awesome, awesome. Now, as I said earlier, there's always more to every story, right? But I want you to share your story. Are you going to be a part of the Beautiful Sister Quilt Together? I know several of you have already signed up, and many of you who are new are probably wondering, what is she talking about? Well, I have a pattern for the Beautiful Sister Quilt. I've had it for a couple of years. Several ladies purchased the pattern at QuiltCon. I think that was back in 2023. And I promised to make a course on it for us to do it together. And it's taken me some time to do it. I put together the videos and I was going to just release it as a course, but I changed my mind because I thought that it's important for us to share our stories together. And part of it is not only do you get the pattern, of course, but it's the community doing something together. And yes, the pattern does include the Beautiful Sister panels, but you can also use any other panel you want. You can create anything you want as the centerpiece for your Beautiful Sister quilt, right? What are we going to do to help us make the quilt? We're going to meet once a week for 6 weeks. We're going to talk about the fabric, the supplies, the pattern, the techniques, the tools. Then we're going to talk about each block individually, how to make it. We're going to have fun and have a conversation about what story we want to tell with the quilt. What story about yourself, about someone else, someone in your family that you want to tell inside this quilt. Is it a sister? Is it someone who is a sister who is not a blood sister, a related sister? It could be a quilting sister. It could be a work sister. It could be a neighbor sister. It could be anyone that you feel close to. And we're going to go through it one by one, right? Now, of course, we have the whole quilt. You can make just the block only. Eventually, we may get to quilting the big panel. Maybe some of you are working on free motion and you want to learn how to stitch a whole cloth. Let me know in the chat if that's something that you want to do. Because eventually, from the quilt, we're going to go to a whole cloth if you're interested. If you just want to make the block, you can do that too. It's really up to you. But I want to be a facilitator, if you will, of making. This is how it starts, making the Beautiful Sister block. This is the very, very first one that I made. How do I stitch it? What does it look like when I stitch it? Then I said, well, let me design a specific block for it. And I thought scrappy, easy, strip piecing, strip cutting, and fast stitching with chain piecing. It's really an opportunity to have fun and tell a story. So I hope you can join us for it. It's going to be a great time. It starts in September. If you want to get the panels and the pattern, that's how you join. You buy the pattern and the whole 6 weeks is included. Buy the pattern, get the panels, and the 6 weeks of weekly get-togethers is included. It's free, essentially. I hope that you can join us. We're going to go through everything from making the block, how I trim, all the tools. So these are skills that are going to pass down to other quilts, right? And I love sharing these efficiency techniques, things that make it easier, give you consistent results, the tools that I love to use. Now, do you have to have some of these tools? No. You can use the techniques that you've already used. It's going to be so fun. Now, some of you are probably wondering, wow, 6 weeks. What if I miss a session? Well, there's going to be a replay. And if you sign up now, you get a 50% discount on the replay. There is a cost for the replay because it costs to maintain a replay section. So it's not a lot. It's just exactly the right amount of weeks. You get to be in the community, but you also are going to get a bonus. I thought, you know what? A lot of you ladies already know that I always give more. If you've never taken the course, you don't know this. But if you take a course with me, there's always bonus content, bonus patterns, bonus something. I just love to give to help you grow as a quilter, to grow creatively, to grow in machine quilting, all of the above. And I'm going to share that bonus in just a minute. We're also going to go over the machine quilting. So not only are you making the quilt, we're not going to stop there. Sometimes quilt alongs are either the quilt or the quilting. We're going to do both. I'm going to share with you the story that I chose for stitching out the quilt and how I preview designs and patterns, how I select if it's ruler quilting, a free motion, a walking foot, how I use it to help me grow my skills, to increase my skills, to get better at my skills. So we're going to go over all of that. And some of you already know, you've been a part of it and you've experienced it. So you know it's going to be good, right? We're going to have fun doing it. Now, what I want to share with you is a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2024, fall, I think, I did an in-person event where ladies were making the Beautiful Sister Quilt. And guess what? Just today, someone sent me a photo of her finished Beautiful Sister Quilt. This is Regina's finished quilt. She just posted it on and shared it on Facebook. And I said, hey, can I share it tonight on? And she said, yes, you can share it on Quilt Conversations Live. So she just finished hers, and I'm so excited that she's all done. But, you know, this could be you too. You can finish one. And we're going to go through it. I did it at a retreat center years ago in Maryland. This is a quick video of that retreat. I was a guest teacher, and we did the Beautiful Sister Quilt. It was fun. It was fabulous. Now, I do confess that I normally teach free motion and ruler quilting. And teaching the Beautiful Sister Quilt was an interesting experience. And I can't wait to do it again, but to do it virtually. So it's not in person. This is a virtual quilt together. Some ladies decided that they didn't want to use the panel. They wanted to use other fabric that they had. And I'm okay with that. I want you to do that. I want this to be your story, an expression of your story. And part of that is that either you can use the panels like Wilda did. She used the panels and she's gifting 2 Beautiful Sister quilts to twin sisters. She also got them the Quilt Folk magazine. Others use a different face instead of the Beautiful Sister included panels. Some decided to shift. The placement of the silhouettes can be anywhere we want. Do we have to use all 5 in one quilt? No, you can use 1, you can use 2. It's up to you to how you place them in the pattern. Now, when I told this to Wilda, she says, oh, no, 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 I'm going to follow the pattern. I'm going to do it exactly as a pattern. If that's you, fantastic. Now, here's the bonus. I know you've been waiting. Here is the bonus. This is a mini quilt. And you can use the silhouette included in the pattern, or if you get the replay, you will get this mini quilt so that you can create your own silhouette from any photo and then replace the silhouette. You ready? Ready to see it? Who wants to see the bonus project? It's a mini quilt. Wilda says, what great timing. Love the Beautiful Sister. Yeah, it is great timing. And Wilda, I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you think back to what I shared about the Hannah story, this Beautiful Sister came out 3 or 2 years ago. I remember when it was. I always forget the dates as I get older because years start to run together. But I procrastinated with finishing the videos for the Beautiful Sister course. And I think there was a reason for that, because it wasn't supposed to be released until now. And it's not going to be released as a course. Instead, it's a time for us to get together and for you to know the full story behind it. And for us as sisters, quilting sisters, to do something together. Yes, Beautiful Sister Quilt is still one of my faves. Oh, wonderful, Rochelle. So here is the bonus project. You get the replay, all the videos, you get the whole tutorials on how to make a silhouette. I'll teach 2 ways to do it, a free program and the paid program that I use, but it's not an expensive program. This is the free mini quilt, 25 inches by 25 inches. You put in whatever silhouette you want or photo you want. This will be a pattern that's included when you get the replay of the entire event, 6 weeks. It starts September 4th. Now, some of you have signed up, and this is the first time taking something with me. Make sure you fill out your profile on the website. When you fill out your profile with your address, that allows me to ship the pattern to you. I want to send you the fabric panel and the pattern, but if you don't fill out your address, I can't ship it to you. So if that's you and you've already signed up, but you didn't fill out the profile information, please do that so I can send you the pattern. Ooh la la, wowza. Yes, it's very colorful, isn't it? Now, You don't have to choose my colors, of course. You can choose a white background. You can choose a purple background. I know somebody out there loves purple. Her name begins with a J. If you're just wondering, you want to make something for that lady, that beautiful lady that her name begins with J, yes, ends with an E. You know who she is, right? You can make something for her. Now, look at the fabric. I'm going to show you the fabric that's in this. I'm going to pull it out. I have it right here. And this is the fabric. Again, I said this the last time we were together, that this is a community quilt, right? So here's the pattern with the fabric panels. This is what I want to ship to you with all the instructions, right? This fabric, beautiful fabric, this is from Beautiful Sister Quilt number 2, and that's the one that's behind me. I've made 2 Beautiful Sister quilts. And this fabric, someone named Wilda, I won't keep it a secret anymore. She's my sister in Christ. She's my sister, my quilting sister, my prayer sister. She said, I have the perfect fabric for the Beautiful Sister quilt. I purchased enough, not only for 2 quilts for twin sisters at my church, but I want to give some to you. Aren't quilty friends just the best? Quilting sisters. So I love this fabric. It's coming out a little too hot. Let me turn the brightness down. Yeah, that's more like it. So I love it. So colorful, so perfect. But maybe that's too much color for you. Maybe that's not what you want. The first Beautiful Sister quilt used African print fabric. This was from the first Beautiful Sister quilt. So we're going to go over all of this, choosing the fabric that tells your story, right? Your story. What story do you want to tell? Maybe you're making it for someone and you want to use fabric that tells their story, right? It is all up to you what you want to do. The other thing is, if you don't want to make the full quilt and you want to work on smaller projects, you can do that too. Before I made the entire quilt, I made individual blocks. Individual blocks. And I bound them and used them to practice ruler quilting and free motion. Make the quilt together your event, what you want to do, right? And especially if you get the replay and you just do the block because you don't have time to do the full quilt, you can always do the quilt later, right? Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you, and I wanted to show you that. I did. And this fabric I had on hand, so perfect for my theme. And we'll talk more about that when we're in the quilt together, what that theme was. But one thing that I didn't show you and tell you that I think I want to show you, because it's something that we don't always see. One of the things that Quilt Folk did in this article is that they led with me winning a Pulitzer Prize. And it was for journalism. It was a team Pulitzer. They led with that. I think they did. Let me go back. Yes. After a successful career as a photojournalist with the Los Angeles Times, Geraldine, let's see, blah, 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 where is it? And it's somewhere in here. But this is what the Los Angeles Times made for that Pulitzer. This sits on a shelf in my living room. Pulitzer Prize, Spot News, 1994 Northridge earthquake. This is my little trophy, if you will. This is something that they made and gave to every journalist that participated in documenting the news surrounding the Northridge earthquake. And, you know, Wilson mentioned earlier about timing. At this time, when this earthquake happened, oh, great, Bonita, you just ordered your copy. Wonderful. Awesome. I was an intern. I applied to become a photojournalist. I went to a recruiting event in New York. A friend who was a journalist, and he was working for a small community paper, and I started dabbling in photography at that time and wasn't sure if it was going to be commercial photography or journalism photography. Um, so anyway, there I met an editor from the Los Angeles Times who was recruiting new young journalists for an internship program. And I applied for this program twice. The first time I didn't get it, but at the same event, I also applied to become an intern at a New York City newspaper, which I end up getting. I got the internship at the New York City newspaper, which was owned by the same company that owned the Los Angeles Times. Then, after that internship at the New York City newspaper, I applied again. So if you are seeking something and you don't get it the first time, don't give up. I applied again. I competed with 10 other photographers for one spot, one intern spot at the Los Angeles Times. They flew us out for a weekend. We competed, we took photos that weekend, told our story in front of a panel of 20 journalists. I stood in the middle of a room telling 20 journalists why I should be the photographer that they should pick to be an intern at a huge newspaper in Los Angeles. And I was picked. I left New York in the summer, I think. And 6 months later, yep, because it was 6 months later, the earthquake happened. 6 months after arriving to California, the earthquake happened. I was a young photographer and I took photos that were eventually part of this story, multiple photos, and part of a book that they made. And that is how I became a member of the team that won a Pulitzer. So that's a story behind the story. Now, of course, I haven't told all the little nuances and details, but that's kind of a quick story on that. So if there is something you want to do that's going to help you in telling your story, remember, if you're just joining us, we talked about Hannah and how she was misunderstood and how people thought she was one thing and there was so much more to her. And part of what was more to her was that she was a woman of prayer. She was someone who trusted God, even in the midst of difficulty and challenges. She cried out to God. Oh, thank you, Rochelle. Thank you so much. So, ladies, the story behind the story. There's so many stories behind the story, but I think you got a glimpse of some of the stories behind the story in Quilt Folk in my career as a photojournalist, about my family, how it's important, and how faith is woven, and how the series of things that have happened in my life, I truly believe are God ordained. He has set my path. And I try to walk in obedience. I don't always walk in obedience. I fail sometimes. And then I ask for forgiveness and ask God to help me to get back on track. And He does. And He'll do the same for you. So I hope you join the Quilt Together. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. It's not too late. You can join. Thank you for being here. I didn't get many questions about the story, but you can always ask any other time. Oh, you're welcome, Jacqueline. You're so welcome. Now, I'm wondering if I forgot anything. I don't think so. I think I shared everything and everything I wanted to show you. Oh, there's one more thing. One more thing. Thanks for hanging on. If you didn't know, there is another family. There's the Quilt Conversations live family. We have a membership. I have one. We're at the tail end of it. It's going to end soon, and we'll have membership open again for the new year. But they are watching this whole thing live in Zoom. We meet for a watch party. We get together just before we go live. And then after this live is over, we're going to continue to chat. And we do a lot of different things together. And one thing that we're doing is a project using some fabric with words. And I wanted to share that with you because, again, it says family is a patchwork of love. So I sent them all some fabric with words on it, and we're going to do a gift exchange. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow, because tomorrow, once a month, we meet for open sew time, and we get to chat about what's been going on in our quilty life and other things. So I can't wait to see those in Quilt Conversations live membership. I'll see you in a few minutes in our watch party, and then I'll see you tomorrow for our open sew time. Oh, you're welcome, Rochelle. God is good. You're so right. All right, ladies. Oh, there's always one more thing. I knew I was going to go over, but I want to share with you. If you're not interested in the Quilt Together, go to my website. There's a link in both Facebook and YouTube at the top. There are other things happening to help you in your journey with machine quilting. If you're new to machine quilting or free motion, a lot of ladies are already in the alphabet course that is there for you. There's ruler quilting, and there are virtual events. I have some virtual and in-person events happening. So just go to that page, click at the top for events or virtual events, and see what resource is going to help you in your next step in machine quilting. I'm here to help. I make a lot of time to create these resources for you so that you can continue to tell your story with fabric, with quilts. All right, ladies. I think that's it. I will share more details about the events the next time we meet. Road to California, that is a live event happening next year, January, but registration for that opens on Monday. And if you're in California, I understand that as soon as registration opens, some of those classes fill up quickly. So if you want to know more about that, just go to my website. All my classes are full day classes, one person per machine, and I'm teaching all sit down quilting classes, sit down long arm free motion and ruler quilting classes, all full day. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. They're all Benina sit down machines, the same machines that I've shown you before, the ones where I stitch on here in my home. I'm going to show you my techniques with free motion and ruler quilting. So I hope you can make it. It's really going to be a fun time. All right, ladies, I think this is it. Let me check the chat one more time. I don't think I missed a question. All right, ladies. Bonita, Wilda, Rochelle, thank you for being here. Terry, so glad that you were here. Jacqueline, and all my new ladies, thank you for being here. If you're not a subscriber, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on what's happening. All right, ladies, goodbye. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. See you in a few weeks, or maybe sooner, right?